Good day, YouTube world. We continue on now from one of the most iconic moments on the song where Freddie sings Mama. For this, I do a particular strumming pattern that I normally closely follow, like this. Which sort of reflects on the drums a little bit and the rhythm of the song. Obviously you can do what you want there with this chord before it changes, etc, etc. So I'm just going to show you what I do. To reiterate from the last lesson, the chord is open 3 6 6, barred by the pinky for the 6 6, and I'm doing down up down 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 up down up down. So. And alternate to down up down up down up with this index finger sort of clawing. You know, like if you have all your fingers relaxed and you bend the index finger in a little bit. That's basically all I'm doing. And if you just done this on the top of your instrument, that is basically what you're doing here. It's like the strings happen to get in the way. You don't have to be dead accurate and only touch the strings. Don't be afraid of hitting the side of the fingerboard a little bit. It's not a big deal. If you do it here, you can clip the edge of the sound hole and that makes a sound. Maybe on some instruments you could chip the sound hole. I've done that loads on mine and there's no sign of damage. A lot of the time they're reinforced underneath anyway. This one isn't, interestingly. So yeah, doing it on the fingerboard, you can hear it a millimetre, it's not really big either. And on this part we kind of want to hear stuff like that. We want it to stand out a bit more because it's a strong, proud moment in the song. So, what I was going to say is, as opposed to just using the index finger for those fast moments where you need an upstroke instead of all downs when you have a fast button, you can also split it between your index and your thumb, doing the downs with the thumb and the ups with the index finger. So a simple little exercise you can do is down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, something like that. So you do something like that if you wanted to do the same string pattern with the finger, something like that with the thumb and the finger. So yeah, a few different options. After that, got a nice little part. That's the from Mama. So on this part, the first note is first chord is open 2 1. We don't do anything on the high A. You can therefore relax this finger if you want to whack all of the strings. That allows you to do so without hearing the wrong note there. So. Still strumming there. I do that with my thumb, and then we've got one which we need to pay a bit more care on next. This is 1 on the high A and the ring finger on 3 of the E string, and you just pick these 2 strings, the A and the E, and then you can either slide here, which is what I do, or you could do a hammering. Because this is copying a vocal melody and singers don't normally sing like ba ba, you know, it's not a sudden transition. Normally it's ba. It's a smooth legato slide. Again, I'm not the best singer, I apologise. But yeah, normally singing's a more legato kind of sound, a smooth sound. It's not staccato. It's not staccato. So there I choose to do a slide. It's only 1 fret, so it's not really a big deal anyway, but you could do a hammer on there if you wanted as well. Like that. So, if we put that together, I'm playing it like this just so you can see. I would normally have my fingers up like that though, so. And then you got this little chord here. So that's open 3 6. And, excuse me. A thing you should know musical theory-wise about a ukulele is that 3rd fret note on the E string is exactly the same note as the open G. So if you were to strum this, let's say you was working the song out and you just worked out those 3 notes and you thought you had to pick those really carefully without picking the without picking the G, you could realise that that's the same note. So in musical theory terms, you could just add in that 4th string and it would sound nice. Like in a chord of G, there's only actually 3 different notes there, despite there being 4 strings and the same notes, which is the start of. a very, very famous ukulele song, thanks to Jake Shimbukaguru. Anyway, sorry, I digress too much. So on this chord, open 3, 6, there's a little arpeggio that follows where we do the individual notes of a chord. So now I always used to play it like this, and then open C, open E, and then 3rd fret on the E string. As we just discussed, that 3rd fret note is the same as the open G, so if you wanted those notes to ring a bit more together, obviously after you've played that open note, it's killed by the fact that you're playing the 3rd fret note, it stops sustaining. So what we can do is instead of the 3rd fret on the E string, we can pick the open G, so we get all that resonance. So that's something, if I was going to relearn it, I would do, but where I played this so many times, this is sort of my habit. And this nice part, we've got 5 on the A, open C string, 3 on the A, and then we do open C again, but this time we do it with the 3rd fret on the E string. And again, if we wanted, we could do it with an open G. In the case of a lot of the notes that come next, they're both on the C and the E, so I'm going to stay around about there. So far, quick little recap. And then this is Didn't Mean to Make You Cry If I'm Not Back Again This Time Tomorrow. And here I'm going to start picking instead of strumming, because it gets a little bit more precise, although there's 1 or 2 strums in the middle. So we're doing an open C and the 3rd fret on the A string as the last note of the bar. Then the new bar, if I remember that correctly, it's 5 and 4 on the 2 central strings, the C and the E. So I'm going to pick with my thumb for the C and the index finger for the E, and I don't have them next to each other, I have them offset, because otherwise they've got nowhere to go. Whereas there they've got somewhere to go for the picking. So, and there's a very fast transition here. I should set my camera up high next time so I don't have to keep leaning like this. So we got open C next, and then we're gonna go just move that chord 1 fret down to 4 and 3. So didn't mean to make, and that's a chord of G moved 1 fret up, which is thus a chord of G sharp. You therefore, remember this note is exactly the same. So if I move 1 fret up, that's going to be very dissonant because it's just 1 fret difference. So on this chord, it's very important to not pick the G. Okay, you could do this finger, you could have this finger muting it slightly, so that you could strum all strings if you want, or you can just take care and make sure you start on the C. So, didn't mean to make you cry, that's 1st fret on the E, and then you go back up to that G sharp. And notice I strum when it's the 3 string chord. Okay, and you can see what happened there. Strum the chord, hit the bass note C again, move 1 fret down, and then I do hit this note again, but what you want to do is move to here, 2nd fret on the C string, index finger on the 1st fret of the A, and you're going to pick them individually using your thumb then the index finger. So open C, 1 fret down, should have picked that, and then strum, strum. Okay, so if I've done that full speed from the beginning of where we started today. Oh, sorry. And then I strum that, including the dissonant note, because that's going to form part of the vocal melody, which happens next. So hopefully we complete that today. So next up, basically like a chord of F, but you've moved it down a string. Then you bar it here, so it's 1 and 1. And notice the difference in the joint there. When you're doing an individual note, you want it curled so that we could, for example, have the open A ring in there without being contacted. When it's a bar, this joint flattens. It's almost like it goes the opposite of flatten. The opposite of its normal curve in order to achieve the pressure on both of the strings evenly. So we go, I think we strum that twice if I remember correctly, 2, 1, 1, and then this is the melody. Okay, something like that. So we're basically just doing the same chord and the melody is moving in the middle of it. The notes stay still the whole time pretty much. So what I do on there, strum 1, 1, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, and that's just the E string that I'm talking about. So one more time. Strum, open, 1, 1, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, and then you go 1, 4, 3, 1, 4, 3. Just do it once, I was just repeating myself. On A, E, C, 1, 4, 3. So it's kind of like a G minor chord, but you move these two up a fret. Okay, like that. And then the pinky tucks back in, and you strum this twice. This is a chord, I should be able to remember that fast than what I am, D sharp. Normally a D sharp's like this, what you might see in books and stuff, but remember that theory thing we said earlier, this note can be played as an open note here, therefore the 3 notes that make up this chord, there's only 3 notes in all major and minor chords, usually the extra notes you get are octaves or unisons of notes which are already in the chord. So this, in the case of this version of the chord, is just a unison of a note that we're already playing. So we could change that so that it's this unison, the 3rd fret on the E and the open G, instead of the 3rd fret on the G and the 1st fret on the A. Because any note you play on the A string, if you do it 2 frets higher on the G, you will get exactly the same pitch. That's why a lot of the chords are like that, like a chord of A, a chord of F, yes, many others. Anyway, so, sorry, I have to I've got a strange memory, I have to play things through or I can't remember where I'm at. So, 1, 1, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, arpeggio here, using an individual digit for each string. 1, 4, 3, strum with the pinky that's tucked in now, and then we do a hammer on. So you strum the chord with the 1st fret, so you're keeping this bar here still. So you strum open 3, 1, 1, and you hammer on with the pinky onto the 3rd fret of the E string. And that's again copying a sort of vocal part of that song, of that moment, sorry. Then we go to this one. So it's strum, soft, strum, and that's the same open 2, 1, 1 that we had earlier. And then we're going 1, 1 to 3, 3. And you could also slide that. So it's open 3, 3, 3. That's a C minor chord, by the way. Yeah, good useful one to know. It's a very easy way of playing it. Again, you can spot that 3rd fret and open G note, and I'm repeating that a lot, but it's like a good bit of theory to know. So if I repeat it, there you go, you've learned something new perhaps. So that's almost that section done. Oh, sorry, being silly. So again, strum, soft, strum, 1, 1 is our new part. This is where he's going to sing Nothing Really Matters. So we've got this little part here. I'm just going to move the camera a moment because I'm a bit uncomfortable. So, here what happens... Oh. Sorry, I completely messed that up. So 1-1, and have that actually as a bar instead of a single note there, because what happens next is fairly monstrous and tricky. A G minor is here, by the way. Normally you do it with these fingers. So there's G major. The only difference in a G minor is that the fingering changes and this note is flattened. It's made 1 fret lower. And if I played it with all of these fingers, if I wanted to make it a G sharp, I can move all that up 1 fret, but of course I have to move the open note up 1 fret as well. So then I need an extra finger to participate in order to make it a 4-string chord. And this is the chord where he sings "Nothing Really Matters." So what I'm doing there, the actual thing you're hearing, is that's the vocal melody. This is like the piano or something in the background. So what I would do here is you've assembled the chord, you strum it once, and then that technique we mentioned earlier for barring and flattening out notes, we're doing here with the pinky. And because of the nature of the chord, if that happens with the other fingers, it won't cause any notes to stop ringing, except when you go back to the 2nd fret note. You do need to resume that, otherwise the pinky is going to mute that 2nd fret note on the A string. So we strum it. So if we talk about the top A string that we hear at the end of it, we're going to go strum the chord and let it ring in the background. 2, 4, 2, 4, 2. And then we strum this chord, a D sharp at the end. Open 3, 3, 1. And then we do an arpeggio of it. So we go strum, C, E, A. So all that section so far. Sorry. So yeah, I sometimes play that in a different way with this string in the middle muted. I'm just trying to show you what I think is the best way. I've learnt this. I learnt this a long time ago when I worked it out ages ago, and I just done it in the way that seemed appropriate then. Now I know a bit more theory, so I know some things that are a bit more useful. Then the nice little melody part here. This is interesting. It uses well, the whole song's interesting, but it uses something called chromatic scale, which is basically like every note on the instrument. But when someone mentions the chromatic scale, you know, if I describe it like that, you might just think it's random rubbish. Usually scales are made up of sets of notes, so it's normally something about tones, which is 2 frets and 1 fret. So like a major scale, so you play a note, then you go 2 frets up, 2 frets up, 1 fret up, 2 fret up, 2 fret up, 2 fret up, and then 1 fret up. So it's like 2s and 1s, 2s and 1s. Anytime there's 1 fret going up, it's always a 2 fret afterwards in in major and minor scales generally. In other scales there's exceptions to that rule, of course. So it's kind of odd in musical theory when something goes 1 fret down and then 1 fret down again, which is exactly what it does here. So how you actually play it, it's involving all of the strings, but in a very except the C string, and it's a very simple pattern. You play 2 notes, so the G and the E together, and then you play the A on its own. So picking wise, I would have like the thumb and the index finger on the G and the E, and then the A string I would pick with the ring finger on its own. So thumb and index, and then ring. We repeat that pattern. So it's going to be 4 and 5, 4 on the E, 5 on the G, and then the pinky goes to the 6th fret on the A string. Then we bar 3, drop it down a fret, drop it down a fret. So again, I'm only ever picking the G and the E, and then the A on its own as that what we call a pedal note, where you repetitiously go back to a note. So if I do, that's a pedal note where we keep going back to that open note at the end. That's one of the most famous examples that I think of. It's from Toccata and Fugue in D minor by Bach. So, the very end of that part, keep bending it off the finger, but be careful of doing that. And then we jump up to here, so middle and ring, pinky goes there, pinky stays, then bar it. That's called a D sharp, by the way, that we're doing there. That's something different I don't know the name of, and so is this. Then an interesting thing happens. We go back to that part we've already learnt, like the piano bit. You've actually learnt a lot of the next extra part of the song. If you've learnt the previous videos, you've learnt a lot of what comes next. So then it's too late, instead of mama, it's too late, the rhythm of the vocal note, so you can do it like this, however you feel like. Same notes. My time has come, gonna fly through this park 'cause it's all the same. Sent shivers down my spine, body's aching all the time. So goodbye everybody. That's where it changes, where we have to learn something new. So it's 5 and 5 on the G and the A, and then the 6th fret on the E string. So again, like that picking pattern we've done on this part, we want to use different fingers for different strings. Normally it's thumb on the G, index on the C, middle on the E, ring on the A when we're very busy and a lot is going on. In this case, because it's to not use the ring finger, it's easier to use these three. Just on this part, because it's only 3 strings at a time, we're going to pick the G and the A together, and then the index finger on the E. So that's 5 and 5, and then 6 on the E. And then here, you're going to pick the top and bottom string again, and you're picking the 10th fret on the A string and pulling off to the 5 at the end. So goodbye everybody, and then you pick the C string on the 5th fret from that bar still, and then we're going to have this part, which I think was the same as before, 7 and 8, and then 5 and 8, which is an octave, by the way, a really clear sounding interval. And then we're going to have got to go. Goodbye everybody, I've got to go, that is. Yeah. So I've got to polish up that part a bit, sorry. So. There we go, so it's C string and A, 7 on the C, pinky on the 12th fret of the A. And then we have a little E string note in the middle, which is the 6th fret. And then you're going to do 2 notes on the 10th fret of the A, and on the second one you're going to pick this 7th fret note at the same time. So use 2 different fingers for that double, and then pair the second one up with the thumb. That way the thumb's got this pattern going on in the background, which is nice and constant, makes it easier to remember once you've learned how to do it. Then we're going to do the simple part. By the way, I think you noticed that extra note on the end that I played. 12th fret on the A string with the middle finger, I would up pick that. Thumb on the 7th fret of the C, and then up pick with this one, and that's going to be the 10th fret on the A, and the index finger on the 7th fret of the C. So on this one, oh, and sorry, I got that part wrong, I've taught you it wrong, sorry. So it's actually the 10th fret on the E as the last note there. And then at that point, we've got same bit as last time. That bit joins in. And that's doubled. That's what I was looking for, because it's got to leave you all behind and face the truth. Freddie's lyrics. And then leave you all behind and face the truth. So I do the same notes here, but I change the rhythm. So it's I do all that the same as before. So you can see the past videos if you want that one. So change the rhythm a bit here. 6, 10, open G, 6, 10 on the E, then A. So again, just a bit of a rhythm change. So yeah, I'll just show you how it goes. It's again the same notes pretty much. Added some extras in. Again, it's like second time around. Anytime you repeat something, you should do it in a slightly different way to keep it interesting. There's something Valentina Lizitsa said, who's a phenomenal pianist, I think maybe even the world's best. Yeah, if you're going to repeat something, do it a different way. Keeps the listener interested, and it's just more fun for you as well. So on that last part, it's obviously a bit more busy. Then you got the whole mama part again, all the same as what we learned at the start, except there we don't add the third fret in, it's just the C on its own because of the vocal melody isn't structured in that way. I don't want to die, but I sometimes wish I was never born at all. That part I do exactly the same. Strum it really hard as a crescendo where it gradually gets loud, which leads into the guitar solo, which is loads of fun, but we'll wait for next time because these videos are getting really long. I'm sorry they're so long, but hopefully the explanations are nice and useful. I can do them faster with less of my digressions down musical theory roads and sort of explanations of why I've made certain things certain ways, and just show the raw song. Here it is, that's it. Let me know in the comments what you like. I like this style of being overly descriptive and going off on tangents. Hopefully it's teaching you new things. Maybe it's too obvious for some of you. Let me know. Thanks for paying attention. I really hope you enjoy it and like it. I'm doing this just for you guys right now, and it's my satisfaction of sharing some musical knowledge I have. I'm putting a link up to a Patreon site, so if you are financially endowed or feel like it, yeah, that would be great, obviously. No pressure. Enjoy, most importantly. All the best, everyone. Take care and happy progressions.